Well, good evening, everyone. We'd like to call our Monday, October the 6th, Fayetteville City Council work session to order. First, we welcome members of the County Commission leadership here, Commissioner, former Council Member Commissioner, Chairman Kurt Devier is here, as well as Vice Chairwoman Veronica Jones. Welcome to us. Do we have any other electeds? All right. Well, welcome those who are joining us in the audience. Council, we have few things to cover, so we'll kind of move quickly. I know we have a lot of things to do tomorrow citywide with some of the municipal obligations. So let's be conscious of that and try to make good use of our time. But we also have Mr. Freddie Johnson here. Chief Johnson, where is he? I saw him earlier. Hey, Chief. So, Chief, if you will, at the conclusion of the prayer, and we'll call for you to come up and get ready for your presentation. And also, on the IT, if there's any preliminary work you need to do to have, if you need use of the screens, if we can make sure we have that ready to go. All right. Where's she? Oh, okay. All right, and we have joining us Councilmember Courtney Banks McLaughlin, who is joining us remote. At this time, as with any meeting, we start with the invocation. We'll ask that Councilmember Malik Davis. Heard him pray at church the other day, so I know he knows how to do it. So if we can please stand, and then immediately following the prayer, if we could repeat the Pledge of Allegiance.
If everyone will bow their heads. Lord, we thank you for allowing us to make it to this day. Lord, we thank you that as things are going on in this world, Lord God, that you will be our peace, you'll be our comfort, and we thank you that this meeting will go smoothly. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Councilmember Davis, thank you. Obedience is better than sacrifice. That's what I read somewhere. That's right, yeah. All right, so at this time, we'll welcome Chief Freddie Johnson
Mayor,
and his team.
Mayor.
Approve of the agenda. City Manager's report.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Mayor. We have two brief remarks. First one, though, I'd ask Scott Embry to come forward to give us an update on the United Way and the city's participation in that, if you're ready. And followed by that is, don't see him, so I'll give that update on the stormwater item in just a moment. Mr. Embry.
Thank you so much.
This is Michael.
There it goes. All right. Thank you so much. It's really an honor to be here and to address such a distinguished group today. I am Scott Embry. I serve as the Executive Director of the United Way. And I'm here just to give you a quick update on the United Way. Last year, the city of Fayetteville stepped up big time for the United Way. I will just tell you that the city's campaign was up 119% last year, $27,000 to almost $50,000 in impact. Thank you so much. Your generosity is truly paving the way for a brighter tomorrow. The collective impact of last year has been nothing less than remarkable for our community. Together, we've launched bold initiative, expanded critical partnerships, and are transforming lives right here at our home. I wanted to just highlight a few of those updates for you. This past year, we were successful at launching an expanded Dolly Parton Imagination Library for Cumberland County. The United Way manages everybody that comes in and out of the program for Cumberland County. We're the only county in the state of North Carolina that every child born at our local hospitals go home now with their first Dolly book and access to the program. As you can imagine, it's growing. And growth is a big investment for us, but the community has rallied behind us to make that feasible for us going forward. So we're delivering over 10,000 books a month to children between the ages of 0 and 5 right here in Cumberland County. So it is incredible. We've also launched earlier this year the Cumberland County Literacy Council, where we are currently recruiting 100 literacy ambassadors. Literacy ambassador, by definition, is a volunteer that has a background check. They've been through child safety training. They have a reader-ready certification. And they are standing up 200 new literacy initiatives across Cumberland County, and we hope year one will serve 3,000 children in our community. And I think Mayor Colvin said it best. Readers are leaders. And I think we can all agree with that as we march forward. Together we continue to fight hunger. If you had the privilege to be at our meal packing event in August, we had 565 volunteers come together at the Crown Expo Center to pack 71,130 meals in about an hour. All of those stay right here in Cumberland County, so there's a lot of need here. It's a lot of good stuff when we work together. I will give you an update on the 211, which if you consider 911, 211 is if you have need for emergency food, shelter, mental health issues, you call that. Last year we answered 10,000 calls from Cumberland County for help. It has been a real success to see that grow. That is up 20% year over year, and we continue to be the top 3 county for calls in the state of North Carolina. Outside of that, we continue to invest in after-school programs, scholarships, financial initiatives, empowering children to thrive, families to succeed, and seniors to live with dignity and independence. I'm happy to tell you it's a little bit staggering, but last year 1 in 3 residents of Cumberland County were impacted by a United Way funded program in our community. So it's well over 100,000 people that your generosity is allowing us to give a lift to. It really matters when you choose to get involved, and it's been a remarkable year. Now more than ever, I would just tell you the why it's important to get involved is because our model has remained the same for 86 years. Neighbor helping neighbor. We get no state or federal funding. Every bit of the money that we raise locally stays locally. And in 86 years, this community has raised around $100 million, and it's all stayed right here in Cumberland County in the past 86 years. So there's a lot of work to do, but this community is generous, and we're proud to be leading that. Partnership is the key to what we do. You know, the city, its leaders, its employees have always been champions for this community. When you support the United Way, you're not just giving, you're creating a ripple effect across this community that creates opportunity for so many people in Cumberland County. I want to tell you honestly, not only thank you, but if you chose not to participate, what would that look like for us? That would look like less children getting free books. That would look like less Meals on Wheels to our elderly, and that would be less food in our food pantry. So when you give, there is a ripple effect, and it's shown in so many services. Finally, I will tell you, the reason we have been around for 86 years and we'll be around for 86 more is because the United Way of Cumberland County is a trusted resource. Every year our annual report comes out. We tell you every dollar we spent, who we spent it with, and what we got for it, giving you the confidence to give confidently. So today I would just ask you, to think about what it would look like if 100% of our city leaders contributed to the United Way. And every dollar counts. We never ask for you to give out of necessity or out of your need. We're just asking for a little of your overflow. It's remarkable to think what we can do for $1. I'd say this because during that meal packing event, I've always asked myself, what does Live United look like? Well, here's what it looks like. How many meals could you buy for $1? You all are very intelligent people. You think that's a trick question, and really for the most part it is. You can't buy a meal for $1. But those 71,000 meals that we pack for hungry people in Cumberland County cost about 33 cents a piece when we bind together and we live united. So hopefully you catch on to what's happening here. I can tell you when we go forward as a connected community, when 100% of you participate at some level in the United Way, there is nothing we can't accomplish together. So today I just want to encourage you. Your leadership matters. Your influence inspires. And most importantly, your action motivates. I'm glad to know a lot of you have become my friends over the past year as we've got to know one another. And I believe you believe in the work we're doing. But we need you to go beyond believing, reach in your pocket and give this year during the campaign season. And let's see what we can get accomplished together in the next 365 days. So please consider and join. There's so many good things that you can do. But together, I'm confident we can build a stronger, healthier, more compassionate Cumberland County if we do this together. Happy to answer any questions.
Wish mine would have kept.
All right, Councilmember Harron Thompson.
Thank you. Freddie, right?
Scott.
Scott? Okay.
Close.
Okay,
Freddie's
that was
next.
close, yeah. Synonym. Man, thank you. I really enjoyed that report.
Yeah.
It's always good to have something that's very exciting and decent and in order, and especially along the lines of what God wants us to do here as disciples. So I greatly do appreciate that. 71,000 meals provided, and they stay right here inside of Cumberland County, man. I
Yeah.
love that. The 211 number, just for a little clarity for me, you dial that as just like we would do 911.
Yes, sir.
It goes straight to you guys. And food, you said helps, so I guess that's a.
Utility assistance,
Utility
mental
assistance.
health issues,
And is that also rent?
rental assistance.
Rental
Yes.
assistance, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I won't even ask any more questions. Thank you for what you all are doing. Many years ago, whenever the Hurricane Fran came in, the flooding in my old home site there off of Washington Drive flooded my grandmother. And man, Red Cross came in, and from there, I've been a automatically monthly giver. So I think now I found another place to give. So thank you for the joyous report, and keep
Yeah.
on doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Scott, for the presentation. Great job once again. I just have a comment and a question. I know your ask today is to get 100% of the leaders to participate and not just talk about it, but be about it, and I'll make sure I do that pledge. But you mentioned about campaign season. Can you provide the information how we can donate now so we don't have to wait for campaign season?
Yes, campaign season is up and running. I have a PowerPoint slide that has the new campaign QR code linked to it, but you can always go on unitedway-cc.org. Trust me, donate now is going to be prominent on that webpage when you
Gotcha.
go on there, but
Gotcha.
that'll plug you right in to have the ability to donate.
Outstanding. And my second question is, you talked about the services you guys provide, and I know it's been on my mind and probably the hearts and minds of a lot of leaders out here. I know the county put something out, and I know the city put something out in reference to the government being shut down and there's no budget and we don't have a state budget, and the services that you provide is probably going to become more in need. I guess my question would be is how is that going to affect you and your stabilization of trying to do more when they do call 211?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm grateful you asked that question. We work with, a lot of organizations that we meet with on a regular basis, and you guys are familiar with most of them, as he mentioned, the Red Cross. But Fayetteville Urban Ministry here locally, we met last quarter, and their president and CEO, Johnny Wilson, probably put it in the best terms. He just said, Scott, thank you. In a world that I don't know where things are happening from week to week, I know that the United Way is going to be consistent. And, luckily we have donors that make us consistent. But, the reality is because we rely on gifts, we have to have, in order to help better, we have to have more people join us and getting resources to these people. So that's how it's mainly impacting us, is because the food pantries, we've got lots of calls this year already about how do we get more food on our food pantries, and we've been able to help a little bit with that. But the same thing will continue with the spending cuts that's happening at the federal and then state level. There will be more ask. We would love to be in position to say yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you, Scott. I didn't see any more questions. We appreciate you. Always good to. Oh, Councilmember Banks McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to tell them thank you for all the great work that you guys are doing. I was able to participate in helping pack the meals, and it was such a great turnout, as well as our city staff. They showed up and was there to support the effort. So I just wish you guys, I wish you guys success, and I just hope that you guys continue to do what you do, and I hope that we can continue to support you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, I only have two other brief things. First, I'd like to inform Fayetteville residents about an upcoming public open house regarding updated preliminary flood insurance rate maps. The event will be held on Thursday, October 9th at 6 p.m. at the Cumberland County Department of Social Services in room A and B, and that is located at 1225 Ramsey Street. This event will give Fayetteville property owners and business owners the opportunity to review the newly updated flood maps for our community. Dr. Hare, very timely about your saying about the Red Cross helping as well in prior floods. Locate their community and see if their flood risk designation has changed. Speak directly to North Carolina Emergency Management staff and National Flood Insurance Program staff members, and learn how these maps and map updates could affect flood insurance and floodplain management requirements within the city. For more information or assistance, residents can contact Byron Reeves, and he's at 910-433-1301, or go to the city's webpage, and more information will be provided there. And then the last one is just an oral update. I became aware this morning, I think those who sent it to me as well, of an incident on Facebook that says Fayetteville. But upon closer review of the online incident that involved, I guess would say would be an auditor of someone who's auditing their rights and police officers. It appears, and I'm almost completely sure, that the incident is in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and not in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Some of you may have seen it, and some may have been circulated to you, but it was an incident that happened in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and not in Fayetteville, North Carolina. So with that, Mr. Mayor, that is all I have for updates.
All right. Thank you for the clarification. All right, Council, we do need to move. We've got Chief Johnson here, and I also see Commissioner Tyson, who snuck in. You guys going to have a quorum in a minute, huh? So, all right. Chief Johnson, if you would, please. Yes, as he's coming, we'll need a motion to approve it. All right. So motion by Councilman Mahondro, seconded by, looks like, was that what you were pressing?
No. But
Okay. Second by Councilmember Hare. Discussion on the motion to approve the agenda. All right. Sure. Council will look to you for your votes on agenda approval.
Green.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Mayor Pro Tem, you had something?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I have not heard about what you talked about on Facebook, but evidently somebody has heard about it and it's circulating around. So is there any way that we can put a post out to say this is not Fayetteville, North Carolina, it's Fayetteville, Arkansas? I mean, to get ahead of it instead of...
Well, to me, I think, yeah, I think
Okay.
it'll exacerbate it because I didn't know about it. But if we put an official
Well,
post out,
evidently, I guess my question is, I didn't either, but I guess it's coming and we talk, I'm good. Well, evidently it had some kind of movement because we talked about it right here, which we've never done. So that's why I was saying
Yeah,
it must
well-
have been something serious. So if it's not, it's not.
yeah, the fact we hadn't heard of it means it's probably not as bad as we're going to make it. Yeah, I know. All right, Chief Johnson, the floor is yours, sir. Finally, so the agenda's approved, so we'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, in fact,
Adam.
if it's okay, Mayor, I'd like to
Yes, sir.
introduce Chief Johnson. We've invited him to be here with us. Of course, everyone knows Chief Johnson is the president of the Cumberland County Fire Chiefs Association. The purpose of him being here is in response to the September 15th joint city-county liaison meeting, in which time Chief Johnson presented report and findings from a task force that he had been charged to lead from the county related to 911 consolidation. And the action taken from that was to come back to each respective body and present that same presentation. And if that is received favorably, the next action might be for the council to consider a city-county joint meeting to make a final decision on whether or not and how to consolidate. With that, I'll turn the time over to Chief Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Lindley. Good afternoon,
Afternoon.
Mr. Mayor, council members, Manager Hewitt. Thank you for allowing me to give this briefing that I actually briefed back at the City-County Liaison Committee, and I'm going to do the same briefing for the benefit of the council members that were not present at that particular meeting. And after that, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have. I'm not one like to read slides, but I do want to read this one because it says a lot of what we're doing. And together we can build an emergency communication system that not only meets today's needs, but positions our community for a safer, more connected future. This Joint Emergency Communication Center represents our commitment to putting public safety and health first, maximizing taxpayer value, and ensuring that help is always just a phone call away. And I would follow up with that. If we do this, it'll be one phone call away. A little background and history. We've had 3 failed attempts to consolidate our PSAP since 2007. And I want to tell you, I was a member of all of those. Previously failures due to disagreements in governance and control between the city and the county. Who's going to be in charge is what disrailed each and every time. In 2016, 2017, we had our last attempt. We actually also used a facilitator, brought in a consultant, and the same issue came up. But a lot of that information, I don't know if you all have the full report or not. There was a full report that was sent out. Mm-hmm. Okay. All that information from that consulting firm is in that report. Of course, but one thing that happened in all 3 of those previous, including this last attempt, is that the public safety agency heads unanimously always voted to consolidate. That's important. These are our public safety agency heads that make these decisions based for our citizens that recommend, hey, let's do this together. So there was a letter from the mayor to our chairman to create a public safety working group. And that committee consisted again of all the municipal and police chiefs, sheriff's office, EMS, volunteer departments, both current PSEP managers, and again, I already said EMS, but that's now run by Cape Fear Valley. They were all present for this group. And we had our inaugural meeting on March 31st. So it says here, full consolidation of both PSEPs into a single entity. Let me tell you how we got to that. So we've had several meetings with the committee, and after it was either our second or third meeting, and all of those meeting minutes are in the report. There was a request, do we consolidate or not? So we had that vote. Everybody that was a voting member was present. And again, like I said, that was a unanimous, yes, let's consolidate. At the very next meeting, there was a request to vote who's going to be in charge. So I knew this is what derailed us 3 previous times. So I made the decision as the chairman, I'm not going to take that vote. And instead, I elected to go to the leadership, which at the time, the leadership group for me was both the city-county liaison committee, consisting of your mayor, your vice mayor pro tem, Manager Hewitt, the chairman of the county board of commissioners, vice chairman, and of course, Manager Greer, myself. And I can tell you, we had a very productive meeting. That meeting was scheduled on a Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock. In fact, I told my wife I'd be back by 5. We met for 3 hours. I walked away from there as a very productive meeting. So the recommendations that are in this report final, a lot of that came out of that particular meeting. So facility use, a recommendation. As a starting point, and we have no other facility like the facility we have currently over on Executive Drive, which is the current county EOC. And I can tell you there is space available. And I also want to go one step further. If you have not, as a council member, visited that center, I'd like to set up a meeting just to do that. Bring you in and let you see that center. That's important. But it is a good starting point for us. Of course, then we also recommended enhanced governance structure for long-term success, and something on the governance structure needs to be worked out at the leadership level. Another big piece of this, and this was a recommendation that came directly from the Mayor Pro Tem, and that was to include mental health crisis response capabilities and Heather Skeen, who is the Assistant County Manager, will brief, as part of this briefing, directly about the Alliance Health Mental Health Initiative that we want to incorporate into our centers. The key difference between now and then is 21st century emergency response addressing full spectrum of our community needs. Mental health, as I just mentioned, crisis focus is very important. Then the governance models, a collaborative structure that I think that we can all agree on. Certainly have a paradigm shift to comprehensive health and centered approach. Licensed mental health professionals embedded directly into the PSAP. So we take an immediate initiative as is needed. And then, of course, here's a good one right here that I have not seen previously, and that is the 50-50 shared funding, not versus a call volume. I think the 2016, there was a program. I mean, I don't know how they came up with it, but it was based on call volume, and it's not going to happen here. Leadership management. So what I recommended, and I feel strongly about that, and that is to have a consolidated center director, and I recommended you a Colonel Director, Ms. Lisa Reed. And she is extremely qualified. I can tell you she has over 30 years of institutional 911 emergency communications expertise. And I actually said that she would be the perfect candidate to see this through from beginning to end. And we hope that she does that if we go down that route. We also recommend that we do a communication advisory board. There'll be others too, and that includes all the public safety agency heads. And the communication advisory board primarily is for policies. Makes policies, how we're going to do it, how is it going to affect our inner agencies. We all have different policies to do that. A backup center, we do need a backup center. A backup center needs to mirror your primary center. And there again, as you're going to see later on, that's 50-50. That also includes capital improvements. This was a biggie in our meetings when we had our committee meetings, and the number one was there's no job losses. That was a big issue. We guarantee no job losses during the consolidation process. We do a salary parity, establish salary parity between the two jurisdictions. And then program continuity, maintain all current dispatch accreditation and agency programs. Everybody has different programs. Accreditation is a big must, and we must maintain those and enhance them as we move forward. Technology and operation. I can tell you technology's come a long ways. Digital dispatch is one of those advanced technologies that we need to prioritize, and actually I can tell you we're doing it in the fire service as we speak. And then we have standardized training if we do that, and then service level improvements, focusing on reducing transfer times, improving response coordination, and eliminate duplications. So here's Ms. Skeen.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So I appreciate the opportunity to be here this afternoon. We've worked hard with Alliance Health to identify opportunities for a 911 joint or consolidated response. As we look around and evaluate successful integration models of mental health professionals and response systems to calls, there are certainly many models of success, and we've explored many of them. The county is exploring in partnerships to support a crisis response model to include partnerships with 3 benefits in mind: supporting 911 operators. Apologize, I did not change the slide. To supporting 911 operators with behavioral health crisis calls, improving outcomes via immediate de-escalation, and reducing unnecessary emergency dispatches. Our framework initially would include 2 phases: a crisis call diversion and mobile response teams. The foundation phase begins with licensed clinicians embedded in the PSAP, which allows for the immediate intervention in identified calls, working alongside telecommunicators during peak hours. This allows for establishing baseline operations and data of successes and learning opportunities. Our expansion phase would include mobile crisis response teams and school-based crisis response teams included in this phase. These expanded services are critical in providing support to nonviolent behavioral health calls. And I will turn it back over to Chief Johnson.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Cost model. As I stated earlier, it's a 50-50 share cost model. All jurisdictions contribute equally regardless of usage. Simplified budgeting, straightforward, 50-50. Operation cost, predictable expenses, political equity, and capital expenses also 50% split, as we would define in a joint agreement. And I think that would be actually a good thing. Governance, I think we need to work that out, and I think we can. There are some good examples in the report. The Durham County and City has a good emergency communications center. Watauga County, Boone Consolidated 911 operations, multi-county regional Darrell and emergency communications. I can tell you that at one of our meetings, we brought in the 911 board, North Carolina 911 board, and they have grant programs that will help us tremendously to move this project forward. Their number one priority is PSEP consolidations to one center in a county. So, and we're certainly going there. I stated earlier we're going to have a communications advisory board. I think we're also going to need a governance board, and the makeup of it can be determined right here between the leadership. With a single entity controlled county or city, I think we would better off to do this jointly so we have equal input as we move forward and not have any kind of issues. The next steps, again, this was from the earlier board, move forward, brief the October work session agenda, mayor and chairman to call a joint meeting of city county, and if the concept is approved, city and county manager hire and integrated to guide the process and develop a timeline. Establish the joint committee for oversight during integration and planning. And that's and in closing, I really would ask you to really be objective, and let's make a good decision, not only for our public safety agents, but primarily for our citizens, and afford them the opportunity to make one phone call and get the help that they deserve. The job of a telecommunicator is to get the resources out to mitigate the 911 call emergency. And that's what we call them. They're telecommunicators, and we told them they do the same thing. And Mr. Mayor, I can tell you, I think I told you before, I'm passionate about this, and this is the missing link. I've been doing this a long time, and if we could get this across the line, I think we've done a good thing and showed that we can do something together. So thank you. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief Johnson. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chief Johnson. And I want, before I start with my questions, I want everybody to understand I do believe in consolidation of the 911 center, but there's some things that have to be answered. And I respect you completely and in your words and everything that you say. So my first question is, and I can't believe I've never asked this question, so we talk about consolidation, and we talk about doing it 50-50. So one of the arguments has been, if you are a resident of the city, you pay the county tax and you pay the city tax, correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's true.
So if we consolidate and we separate it 50-50, is that tax going to stay or is that tax going to go? Because regardless, and I am personally okay with if the tax stays. Of course,
Which tax are you talking
we have a tax that we pay twice. We pay for the county and we pay for the city. And now we are talking that it's going to be a 50-50 split, which I think is more than fair, and I appreciate the county coming to do that. My question is, the fight has always been, you pay twice, why wouldn't you want to consolidate? So my question is, does that tax go away or does it stay? And if it goes away, does this come out of our general fund?
You talking about the fire district tax? Yeah, what tax you talking about?
So,
I think the best way to answer that, Ms. Jensen, is I think initially when we do joint 50/50, it comes out of both budgets. Okay?
okay,
So we'd have to, that's just the only way to do that. Now, down the line, if one or the other would take that whole thing over, then certainly the other side would do away with the tax and have a windfall. But I think starting out, it'd be 50/50 across the board.
okay. Thank you.
All right.
And I got the chairman and here, some of those questions, I might have to defer to them.
And I might have missed.
So there's the expense, which is what you're saying is 50/50, and then there's the source of the revenue, which I think might be two different things. I think we were talking about. Where's the money coming from? I don't know if she was talking about the fire tax.
I think to make the budget will come out of your budget.
Right, right.
Where we go, and it's just,
Come to the mic, Chief. Come to the mic.
oh, I'm sorry. I think that the operational cost. Capital, we just split it, okay, hey, it's gonna cost us $1 million to build the backup center, is 50/50.
So my point is, I just want to make it clear, the point is, it's really not going to be, because everybody says, I pay for the county and I pay for the city. It's still going to be that way. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But the argument has always been, you have to consolidate because I'm paying both times. So again, I believe that consolidation is the way to go. But I just want to get that out there.
Sure.
And that's all I had, really. That's all I had. And I think it's I think it was very fair what the county did coming in 50/50 because it was a lot more 5 years ago. So I think it's very fair. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Benavente.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. City Manager Hewitt, just to kind of better understand our spending on 911 communications in particular, do we have like a ballpark of what our current spending is to provide that service to the city?
It's about 6 million.
Right. And so is that dollar figure actually going to go down at any point? Like, I guess my feeling is that consolidating is great for a lot of reasons, but I think it's more of a rhetorical point that we say the citizens are paying for the same service twice, because we're still going to be generating the revenue regardless. It's just whether or not we're spending it on a service more than once. But I don't think that dollar figure is actually going to go down. If anything, it'll go up because we're doing more things. So I don't think it's necessarily a net savings per se. It's just a different way of spending money that we're already generating. So it doesn't actually save anything.
Well, briefly, and then getting to the next, I guess some of the next steps. Currently, the city does not pay for any mental health services that are provided. And a model that is contemplated, and this is exceedingly high level, this is very, very high level concepts that we're talking about embedding 911 services with mental health providers of some sort, which is a great idea, great concept. It was what led to the 3-hour meeting that Chief Johnson and others talked about earlier. But currently, because we don't pay for it, and it's not necessarily within our direct costs, a 50/50 model, that may be something that would increase the city's cost. And so if council is amenable to having a joint meeting with the county commissioners at a later date, and then hiring an integrator if that is the council's wish at that time, one of the things that the staff would be looking at would be what we looked at in previous years. Are there specialty services that the city of Fayetteville, because of our operations, desires and would like to fund specifically? Are there unique operations such as the mental health that may be a shared cost? Also, too, looking at the fact that Spring Lake and Hope Mills also have their own police departments, and those would be all the things that have been worked out before, and we would have conversations about again. But I think the concept that is being presented is a 50-50 model, and then as every council member has discussed, what does the 50-50 model include? Is that more money? Is that less money for some? But those are things that would be asked to be worked out following the joint meeting if it was positive with the city and the county.
Well, I guess just to wrap that point up then, City Manager Hewitt, if you're going to be a part of that meeting, I think my interest, at least on that topic, would be, maybe how detailed are we going to get, right? Like you were saying, is it going to be different services within 911 that are going to be looked at as, 50-50 in and of themselves, or is it part of the overall expenses? I think, it'll be up to obviously you and County Manager Greer to get incredibly detailed about it, but it sounds like, we say 50-50 in one sort of phrasing, but that's obviously very, very general, right? Like the actual reality of what that looks like or how we get to 50-50, or even there's different versions of 50-50, right? Because we're talking about the grand sum total or, like you said, specific services. Right. So I think I'd be curious to see all of the specifics once we all get to that point.
Right. Well, I think that the main thing is everyone agreed that there would be no loss of service. There would be representation and a voice for all users. And ideally, it would be an enhancement of services. And I think that what is the mental health component is one that I'm not sure if there are many counties or cities, if any, that truly have that embedded where you call at the moment. But so it would put us in the forefront of being one of those few that would have those types of activities and services. And but again, I think the concept that's in front of you is, Mayor, I'm sure you have additional questions from council members. I see some, but the next steps are listed on the screen.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hewitt. Councilmember Hondros.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think both Mayor Pro Tem and Councilman Benavente are correct to some regard, and perhaps ACM Yates can speak to this. So I think the tax, Mayor Pro Tem, you might be referring to is city residents pay an ad valorem tax for the county and the city, which the 911 call centers are paid out of the general fund. I think the city spends about $6.2 million for 911, and the counties is $4 or $5 million. So, to your point, Councilman Benavente, the 11 or 11.5 million total we're spending wouldn't necessarily go down day one, but perhaps it prevents increases in the future, and then it's all about the level of service. So if we talk about enhanced services with mental health, co-response, and those things, you're adding another expense that we currently don't have, or another service we currently don't have. So I think in the long run, it will certainly, mitigating redundant services by consolidating, you're going to lower cost in the long run. I don't know if we would realize that day one. And with all that said, I'm prepared to make a motion if we're ready.
Thank you, Councilman Hondros. I did just want to weigh in, and first, Chief Johnson, I know you, Ms. Lisa Reed, where she at? She's back there somewhere, and all of y'all spent a lot of time and effort trying to figure this out for the community, and I think we've got to look long, take a long perspective. Cost is one thing, but also the strategic alignment, the economies of scale. Businesses are more efficient when they do things together, and so same thing with the government. I think I'm not sure y'all mic is on. Y'all mic is on hot there. When it comes to office supplies, training staff, over time, it will have a cost benefit. It's impossible for it not to. But I think the biggest thing is the consistency of services in the event we can get there. The positive of what you said is that everybody in the group was in full agreement that this is the best route. And that's from the professionals. Now, the how and who runs it is always the sticking point since 2007. So I think, if council, as we received the report, if Councilmember Hondros could add a component to his motion to ask if there is a consensus to set up this joint meeting to let them tell us what the estimated cost analysis would be over time, because when it's time to buy equipment, a city and a county taxpayer who lives in the city is still paying it regardless of what the source of the revenue is. Whether it's coming out the right pocket or the left pocket, at the end of the day, it's still coming out. So to be able to save, if it's 5 or 10% on that, is something that I think we all should strive to do without compromising the delivered product, which is to make sure that there's consistency. So Councilman Alejandro says you do that, if you don't mind wrapping that entire piece into it. I'll go back to you.
One more question. I think might be one more question.
Oh, let me see if he has well, he hadn't made a motion yet. Yes, sir. Councilman Thompson and Benavente second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A lot of those questions that we're talking about, one that hasn't been talked about is where we're going to run the consolidated facility. So let's not get ahead of ourselves and make sure that everybody's in agreement to that. Chief, as we talked about previously, my biggest concern is the governance piece. And before I get to that question, I want to know is what is this hired integrator going to do that Mrs. Lisa Reed can't do? Because I don't know what an integrator is or what their purpose would be to integrate when we have, as you mentioned, the most professional person available to do that for us.
Councilman Thompson, I think the integrator was just to provide a avenue moving forward, a roadmap on how to do all this. And Ms. Reed would be the operational center director of consolidated piece. And of course, again, we still have a governance, some type of a governance model. I don't know what that looks like, and that's what
you know I'm coming with that next. And my thoughts personally, and I've shared this with you. When you're talking about professional 911 individuals, I don't think political appointees need to be involved in that governance part. I have nothing to do with what 911 does, the fire chief or the police chief or anything else. I would be clueless. And if anybody here sitting in this diocese tell you anything else, they're clueless because we're not those professionals. So however the integrator or Ms. Lisa comes up with whatever governance that you come up with, let's think twice about putting elected officials on that board.
Sure. I mean, absolutely. That's why we got managers.
Yes, sir.
You know, managers can interact and work together. I mean, we have all these good options, and I think at the end of the day, we should be able to come up with a workable solution to do this.
And I don't think you need us as elected officials micromanaging what you guys do. You guys need funding, bring it to us. If you guys need personnel, bring it to us. But when it comes to the every day and day operations, I don't think we need to be involved, Chief.
And
That's just my opinion.
Look, we initially put that there just to get this across the line. I didn't want any problems, so that if we have a city councilman and a county commissioner, if there was something come up, we can address it.
I'm hearing you, Chief, so we can get across the line, take it off the proposal.
But I tell you, we got good managers on both sides of the house.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. All right. Councilman Benavente.
I think Councilor Thompson pretty much made my point. I mean, I can see a liaison being ex officio and not voting, maybe just being there to listen. But, you know, that's me trying to meet somebody halfway who wanted that, right? This is not me saying that I disagree with anything that Councilmember Thompson said, so I think he made my point. Thank you.
All right. So Council, again, I think one is two things we're trying to get out of it. One, receive the report, acknowledge the work and the time that's been put in by both city and county teams and the municipalities too, to see if there is a consensus for the managers to schedule a joint meeting to kind of work out some of these details that are coming up today. All good questions, but that's kind of the direction we're trying to go. Mayor Pro Tem, you had something additional?
Just the last thing, I just wanted to say that I hope that Councilmember Thompson puts what Councilmember Thompson said maybe in the motion, or do we have to put it in the motion? Probably don't. Okay.
No, because we're just trying to establish one, receive a report, two, if you're interested in a joint meeting, then the managers can check in with the commissioner. So if they get one more here, they can go and take a vote for it. All right, Councilman Hodges.
I agree with Councilman Thompson, and with that, I move to accept the report and agree to hold a joint city-county meeting in November.
All right, motion by Councilmember Hondro, second by Councilmember Thompson. Discussion? All right, Council, I look to you before you vote for that. Councilmember Banks McLaughlin?
Agree.
Okay. All right, motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Chief. We look forward to getting on your schedule and getting into the nitty-gritty. So thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Appreciate your efforts. All right, thank you. All right, Council, moving to, thank you, Ms. Schemes, and Ms. Reed, and all the others that spent your time on a Friday afternoon. That's impressive. All right, Council, moving to 6.02, downtown municipal fourth quarter update.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a report will be given by Cool Springs Executive Director, CEO, Ashanti Bennett. I think I got your title correct, ma'am.
You mashed
Part.
a few together, but
Yeah.
it's all good. President and CEO.
All right, Madam President.
You know, I like that. Is it open? All right, thank you all. Good afternoon, everyone. How is everyone today? Beautiful day outside. I'm very excited for this fall weather. So here to present to you on our fourth quarter of Cool Spring Downtown District's update. This is something that we just share with you just to sort of ground the work that we do for Cool Spring. For those that are not familiar, this comes from our new strategic plan that takes us through 2028, matching up our goals with the organization with the city's goals. Excuse me. Around my water. Last quarter, we had about 12 new businesses open, street-level businesses. We did have 6 that closed, although I do have an update about 1 that is actually going to be coming back downtown. So that netted us about 6 new businesses for the fourth quarter. For the fiscal year of 2024-25, we netted about 20 new businesses in the downtown. So things are moving, but they're coming back in. We had a large event in our fourth quarter. It was our Juneteenth Jubilee. It was the 4th annual version of that. Saw a fair number of your faces out there for that event. We had amazing headliners. We had great talent on the stage. Local North Carolina artist Reese Palmer, Tank and the Bangas, which had just come off of a Grammy win. So actually getting them to come to Fayetteville was pretty amazing. We had just under 20,000 people attend that event. If anyone can sort of cast their mind back to that particular weekend, there was a lot happening. We had weather, we had National Day of Protest. There were a lot of things going on. So 20,000 people still making their way to Festival Park was pretty amazing for us, and we look forward to doing that again next year. These are just some updates on some other things that were happening during the fourth quarter. We used some of our marketing dollars that we have in order to market the downtown outside of the downtown, partnered with Lamar to have a series of billboards that we had around different parts of Fayetteville, Cumberland County, including on I-95 and I-40 in order to draw cultural tourism down to the downtown district. Partnered with some smaller organizations, trying to branch out as much as we can do with programming so it doesn't all come from Cool Spring, and also allowing some of the smaller organizations that may or may not have the ability to bring that on budget-wise to be able to bring those events to a wider audience. So partnered with a local group, some of you are familiar with some of their other events that they've done, Book Black Women and No Longer Bound Entertainment, to host the Downtown Rodeo. If you're familiar with the 226 Warehouse, they do sort of every Friday, every other Friday, some line dancing. And so this just brought this to a much larger scale for that. Had about 14,000 people that came out on that particular day. Additionally, we reinstated this year's Field of Honor. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Oh, thank you. Which honors our service members over by the Airborne Special Operations Museum. We had 30 different volunteers come out from various groups, which was really great, including some city staff that were out there helping to load in those flags. It's 500 flags. It's beautiful when it goes up, but it does take a lot of logistics in order to get them in. And in fact, at this particular point in time, with ASOM being temporarily closed with the federal shutdown, we are maintaining that field and making sure that those flags don't touch the ground, that we keep that looking as beautiful as it possibly can in honor of those service members. Additionally, this year we reinstated a summer concert series with partners with Cumulus Media. Which was a lot of fun. If you didn't get a chance to be out there, particularly when we had council member Davis came out and was a judge for our nerd market that we did during that concert series as well. That was a lot of fun. Most of our concert series on average bring about 7,000 to 8,000 people during the fourth Friday downtown. We continue to grow that. On the lowest one that we usually have will be somewhere in Q2 when we bring it back in March, usually just due to weather conditions that we have. So that is about 4,000 or 5,000 people. But our upcoming event, which I will bring back up in a moment, our Zombie Walk typically brings another 20,000 people to our downtown. So that one is always a great time for our businesses, for our residents, and for any visitors to our downtown. Largely, what we were doing in fourth quarter was wrapping up an extensive transition search that, yes, did land me in the president and CEO role, coming off of the interim position. I got to tell you, you guys, searching for folks to come into your organization is an all-consuming process, and we are very, very glad that it is over at this particular point in time so that we can focus on filling in some of our other positions as well. Very, very pleased to announce that we have a new development and engagement director that will be starting with the organization next week, in fact, and we will also be expanding into our safety and engagement ambassador program, which we can talk about a little bit more. I'm certain there are some questions there. We are also bringing back and revamping a lot of our committees that we have. Our design committee, our economic development committee, getting some of those back online, getting some fresh members for that. We've also just onboarded 5 new board members to our board of directors. We had a significant roll-off of about 5 or 6 folks just because their terms were up. That they took a lot of good historical knowledge with them, so we were very deliberate in making sure that we brought folks on that were engaged in the downtown, either as residents, as business owners, but some people that understand our downtown and want to contribute to the work of Cool Spring. Oh, goodness, there's a lot there. Some things that are coming up. Sometimes you just have to look at the slide a little bit to think about things you do every day. We are currently working on, we have an RFP that we just closed to update our website. If you all have been to our website, it is incredibly dense with information, but it is not the most user-friendly website that we've seen. And so we want to make sure that anyone that is actually using it can get to what they need with fewer clicks. We are going to be selecting that vendor, I believe next week. That meeting is scheduled. We are also in talks with some of our influencers and a couple of our media partners to see if potentially we can launch a new podcast for the downtown. We don't want to duplicate efforts for those that are already doing something similar, so we're taking meetings with other folks to see how we might be able to collaborate on that. But I think at this juncture, we're looking for at least a quarterly, if not monthly podcast, just so that we can have another mechanism where we're getting the information out about what's going on in downtown Fayetteville. As I mentioned, we have our Safety and Engagement Ambassador program. We have had about 2 different folks in that part-time position that have had to leave for very personal reasons on that. And so as a staff and as a board, we sat down and talked about that position a little bit internally and recognized that the part-time role is a little difficult to fill. The job has both a physical element, the cleanup, some of the lifting, some of those things, but it also has a component where you need to be good with people because you are talking to merchants, you're talking to visitors, you're talking to residents, and that's not necessarily a skill set we were finding in the folks that we needed. So we've been able to get some additional funding in order to make that part-time position a full-time position. We've partnered with our Veterans Administration locally as well as our Wounded Warriors team so that we can get some veterans into that position. Our current ambassador himself is a veteran, and some of the skill set that he brings that wouldn't necessarily read on a resume we have found to be an ideal group of skills that we need for this position. Those interviews will begin happening in about the next 2 weeks for that. So that will bring that team back up to those sort of pre-transition levels that we need it to be at. Additionally, we have the social district in our downtown that still continues to go on. We've added about 2 more businesses to that. There will be a meeting for all of the participants of the social district coming up. Schedule had to be moved for some other folks' conflict, but we hope to get that done before November, where we can, again, make sure that everyone is in compliance with the social district hub, understands all of the parameters of that. But ultimately, we've seen really great success with that. And so this is just sort of a check-in for all of the participants to make sure that we understand if they have any comments, any concerns that we need to address. But even speaking with some of the police officers that we have downtown, we've not seen any increased incidents due to that. And so it's something that our merchants really love. They're able to bring people into their businesses as well with that. It's really great during events, and it does help provide an additional source of revenue for those restaurants and bars that are downtown. We are also working on a project that we've had in the pipeline for a little while, and it was one that we wanted to go ahead and try to get wrapped up in this quarter here, is the branding of the downtown district with downtown banners. Just recently completed a meeting with many of the faces that are here in this room to go ahead and get that signed off on. We have final designs that have been selected. Those are going to go to our printers hopefully this week. Our goal is to get in before our vendors start having to focus on the holiday season, which would push us back to January. So we would like to get that installed. Theoretically, in my mind, I wanted them all up before FSU's homecoming, but I unfortunately don't think I'm going to make that happen. But we do hope that we can get it in before the end of October. And lastly, you will see some examples here to the far right. We have launched, or will be launching, a new marketing campaign, taking all of the analytics from all of the ads that we place, whether they're digital, whether they're print, or billboards, some surveys that we've collected with data. We took all of that together and are launching a bit of a cleaner editorial brand that we see actually gets a lot of responses when we are able to do those throughout the year. So you can be looking forward to that full launch coming very, very soon for Cool Spring. And lastly, coming up, again, I mentioned the Zombie Walk because that is the largest and the final fourth Friday of the season. Typically, again, have about 20 to 22,000 people that come downtown. Folks really put a lot of time and effort into their costumes, into their engagement. We bring out entertainment. We build out a stage on Person Street where we have headlining local talent. We do the zombie processional through the downtown where all 20,000 of our zombies are walking down Hay Street. And if you've not ever had a chance to experience that, if you're a person that likes Halloween, I'm kind of sort of not, so I get a little creeped out. I don't like the jump scares, but it is a great time. And when you look at that photos and you just see people from the Market House all the way down Ray Avenue, it's pretty impressive. We will also be getting ready for the holiday season. We have some wreath fluffing coming up soon if anybody really wants to volunteer for a down and dirty job, where we go and we get all of the wreaths that go up on the light poles all across the downtown district, get them fluffy, pretty, make sure their bows look good, make sure they're straight so that we can get those installed, as well as our 32-foot community Christmas tree that will go up. It has been at the Market House in previous years, but as you have all seen with the scaffolding and the cones, it's not going to be the location for this year. We will likely partner with the Arts Council in order to make sure that that tree can be in front of their space on the corner of Maxwell and Hay this year. And then lastly, in the middle of the week this year, on a Wednesday, we've got New Year's Eve that's coming up that is just shy of 90 days out for us. We have begun the process of planning that. We have some offers in for our headlining talent, and once we get those back, hopefully this week, then we can begin to build out that event. That's my particular favorite one that we do in Cool Spring for the downtown. Last year, we had just shy of 24,000 people come out to that event. And so if you have not had an opportunity, again, I have to come out to that. As Mayor Pro Tem Jensen said, there's no need to leave Fayetteville. We wanted a celebration here in our town, and so we have one now, so you bring out your entire family. We've had folks that have told us they were going to come for just a few minutes and ended up staying for the entire night. So it is a good place to let loose, have a great time in a controlled, safe environment, celebrating with all of your neighbors. So those are all of those things that are coming up as we continue and move out of this sort of transition space that we have been in and get our staffing levels back up. We highly anticipate picking up some projects that just due to capacity sort of needed to sit to the side. That includes some time and working with the Office of Economic Development to work on some business recruitment activities that we've discussed in the past. It also includes the Downtown Visionaries event, which you may be used to from City View Magazine. They will no longer be doing that event, and we will be doing that in downtown Fayetteville. And so that is something that our board is looking forward to, working with staff to create that event. It'll be somewhat of a town hall, but that allows us to share all of the things that we have done for the full year. Anticipate that event will happen sometime in May of 2026. And with that is my presentation, and I am available for questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bennett. I do have a couple of questions. I see Councilmember Davis does as well.
I was ready to make the motion to receive if there's no questions, but I'll wait till the questions are done.
Yeah, I did have just a couple. So, good update. There was a couple of things. There was some lights that council approved that went on the parking deck. Bianca kind of handled that.
Yes.
To kind of give it a little bit more vibrancy downtown. I haven't seen them lately. What's the status of them?
So we were having a technical issue. One of the bulbs was causing all of the other bulbs to sort of short, if you will. We partnered with Blashfield Signs, who did the installation, and the vendor out of Canada to get that replacement piece. So that's been put on, but we've paused that just to make sure that the electrical in the building is okay for the payload before we actually change it. However, that second phase, it was 2 phases of that project. And so the second phase of that project is now with Chris Colley and his office in the EDC, and they are going to be moving forward with it. So once they get all of those lights, which I anticipate, he sort of gave me a date of the next few weeks, but I don't think it's been solidified at this particular point in time. The lights have been down off of the building for about 3 weeks, but prior to that, we were having them up. We've changed them. Any community group that reaches out to us, if there's a pink walk, we'll turn the lights pink. If it's police week, we'll turn them blue. And so what I am hoping is now that we have that one particular technical piece, even if phase 2 is not ready to be installed yet, we would really love to have the blue lights up for FSU's homecoming next week.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Two is your marketing that I heard you do. How much collaboration do you do with Distinctly Fayetteville when you're promoting your component?
A fair amount. We trade back and forth with any kind of posts, any events is going, any community calendar that we might have. And so as much as they share our information and we'll reshare anything that they share that has to do with downtown Fayetteville in particular, because they do have that whole county-wide space that they're looking at. But we try to partner with them as closely as possible. Devin Heath, the executive director there, is actually a liaison on our board, and he and I try to get together on a regular basis just to make sure that we are sharing as much information as we possibly can.
All right. And the last question I had, heard you say something about the ambassador program. Brought this back up when I saw that you were presenting today. And it came before council a couple of times, and there was additional dollars that were put into it. Originally, when this happened, probably a budget cycle or two ago, the definition of what, as this was a council member request that I brought to council that we talked about, and what actually came out of that, it was more of a extension of service provider. They were watering flowers and picking up trash and doing the stuff that's needed, but it wasn't really an ambassador that showed kind of a presence, softer than a law enforcement presence, but still something welcoming. Then when people get out of the car, they may can't work the parking meter, or, they may be a little uncomfortable if they're, approached by some folks, but haven't really seen the impact of that. But I did hear you say, which is the part that I'm zeroing in on, you said you're about to roll that out. Has that not been something that, because I'm wondering, as we did that, I think it was $100,000 talked about.
60.
Yeah. Okay. So that may have been the final number, but I think originally that email that I sent back or refreshed back up earlier had, discussion was at 100, and so I'm wondering, you're trying to get additional use out of some of your staffing, which I understand that, but is this something that you think belongs in your shop? With what we're talking about, you've been to cities where you have people that may have Fayetteville ambassador on it. Maybe they're riding a bike, maybe they're walking, but they're more present and they're not necessarily doing some of the housekeeping things. Is that?
So I'm not familiar with the 100,000, and if that's an email that you would love to share with me, I'd like to track that back through. Our contract is currently for $60,000, which funds a full-time and one full-time and one part-time ambassador. We had made a request to both the city and the county at different points of time to try to get additional funding so that we could either have two part-time folks or be able to bring that one on. In lieu of that additional funding, we have utilized funding sources that we've gotten from the North Carolina State Arts Council, which was some unrestricted funds that we got. If you are a nonprofit person, unrestricted funds are amazing. So we've utilized that money in order to turn that 0.5 position into a full-time employee. And so in the quarterly reports that we send you, we do add a section that has sort of a broad sweep of all of the things that the ambassadors have. However, I did bring this binder with me that if you'd like to keep that, this actually is your copy. It is the weekly reports that our ambassador does. And so, yes, our safety and engagement ambassadors are not police officers. They do not carry weapons. They do not have any sort of physical deterrent on them. But our safety ambassadors respond to panhandling. They respond to incidents with some of our homeless population. They have filed upwards of 30 police reports even in the last quarter. Additionally, attend our neighborhood watch meetings and engage with our business merchants on that. We are currently compiling at this point because we realized we had a fair number of testimonials from our merchants that have been able to call for safety escorts at nighttime. Our ambassador has we've adjusted those schedules to try to maximize that coverage as much as possible. So if you are ever here at midnight on Friday night, you will see Adam, our particular ambassador, now walking around in his orange shirt, or utilizing the golf cart if he's doing a safety any sort of safety escort for anyone. We have also managed to add even in the last quarter, 50 Fix-It reports for maintenance. That includes things like street lights, that includes encampments that we find, any sort of dangerous or hazardous things that we find out in the district, doing those daily patrols across the district there, and then reporting that if it's not something that we can actually physically handle in our particular office. The Safety Engagement and Ambassador Program, I think, is an amazing program to be coming out of Cool Springs shop, to answer your question, because it provides that liaison that, as you say, is a little less than law enforcement, but is a little bit more than just someone helping you find parking, which they also do. And also maintaining spaces. Adam, in fact, those lights that you were asking about, he is now sort of crash coursed in being an electrician. And so that has actually helped with some other lighting issues that we have around town. And he is a person that is out. He provides that safety presence for folks. He's wearing a bright orange shirt, so you can't miss him. And we have found that people have reported back to us that they feel safer and comfortable approaching him versus maybe going directly to a police officer or someone else in law enforcement for that initial intervention on that. But I mean, we have tracked that all the way through with this particular role, from you are in an incipient sort of incident that's happening right now, to helping folks file the police report that they need, to going to court with them as well, and attending that hearing if need be, and continuing to follow up to make sure that everyone that works and lives and plays downtown feels safe while they're here.
Okay, all right. Thank you. And I guess I'll follow up with the manager at a later time. I know we've got a lot to cover, but go to Mayor Pro Tem and then Councilman Herron Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be quick. I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying. When we talked about this ambassador program, I've learned a lot today. I have been down there and seen two of them. I know that you had a young gentleman. I don't know if he's still there. Yeah. Well, I hate that because he was very nice. He was very welcoming, and I will tell you, I had people in from Raleigh when we saw him, and we were walking down the street, and he was hanging signs, and I thought, wow, this is what they have in Atlanta. I'm walking down the street, there's somebody saying hello, how are you doing, talking to you. And I hate to say it, he was just as kind as he could be and started talking to us. And then somebody came out of Cool Springs, I guess it was the other guy, and sent him off. I don't know if it was me, I don't know, but my people from Raleigh were like, that was awkward. So, there is a place that I think that we need to look as Atlanta is doing it. So when I go to market, and it's a lot of women buying dresses and things like that, they literally see things coming and they take care of it. They're not picking up trash. They're not doing that, and maybe that's something that the city needs to look into, policy or funding of that. But the ambassador program, especially on the weekends, do they work on the weekends?
Yes.
Do they work on so they work at night or in the day?
Yes, but it just depends on the needs. If we have events that are happening, we may shift that around. If it's going to be a quiet, typically, day, that schedule will just change with the needs of what's going on downtown.
And I hate to say it, when you're down there and it's quiet, I think sometimes that's when you do need them. But I appreciate it, and I just wanted to tell you, I think that when we talked about ambassadors, that was more what I was thinking about. I'm not speaking for everybody else, but what I was thinking of. Thank you. Sure.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Herron and Davis.
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. I was trying to go back in my mind on that conversation of the 60,000 versus the 100,000, and
I just sent you an email.
Oh, you sent me an email?
Yeah, I sent everybody.
Okay, so it was 60?
No, it was 100.
It was 100, right,
It was to the police.
Yes. It was,
So it was not for...
I believe that may have been the discussion of a dedicated downtown police officer that would work in conjunction with the safety and engagement ambassador.
Oh, okay.
But
Right.
that
Ambassador
conversation, yeah, sort of
versus-
went a
versus the
different
ambassador.
direction.
Okay, all right, because I do remember that discussion, and I thought we had okayed for that, but okay. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, Councilman Davis.
Can I go, Mr. Mayor, because he's going to make the motion. Let me
I've
just,
got a question as well.
well, let me just clear something up. So, I briefly heard you mention that you have a full-time and a part-time.
Correct,
It's hard to fill a part-time because of certain circumstances.
correct.
So would your ask be today to ask for funds so that part-time can become a full-time, so you can fill that position?
I would happily renew that request to
Could
ask
you
for
submit that
additional
to staff to
funds.
see what the cost may be, so we can give you what you need, so we can have the additional ambassador downtown?
I would be happy to do so.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure.
All right, Mr. Hill, you had something before.
Yes, sir. I wanted to jump in as well and say that Councilmember Hare had it correct. One was for a police officer, the other was for the ambassador program. While I would welcome us having additional presence in downtown with ambassadors and others, what I think I also heard Ms. Bennett say was, and get me choked up trying to give me money away at work session. Y'all not we know we.
Where is that emergency services
no, it's not.
person?
Is that we? She also mentioned that they have been very successful in finding additional funds, and that is one of the issues that we, in looking at managing the downtown MSD, we are. The MSD does not support itself. It does not, even with all the discussions that we're having about the MSD, and we owe council a policy paper, and we're working on that as well, about what are the appropriate boundaries or uses of MSD. The MSD does not support itself. And it hasn't for some time, meaning that the money that is generated from the additional tax to run the MSD, provide those enhanced services, does not cover those. Doesn't cover parking, doesn't cover the signage, doesn't cover the lighting projects, it doesn't cover all of the decorations. And so one of the things that I would, of course, it's council's choice how we do it, but even with the additional $100,000 that you dedicated last year for enhanced overtime for the police officers, in addition to the ones that we already have downtown, you have a lack of staff. We had this morning, we have 53 police officer vacancies that we have. And so when the police chief is looking at where he has to place the resources, he does not have the luxury to be able to say that we're going to dedicate this solely to downtown all the time. And chief is here and can speak on that as well. Ashani, Ms. Bennett also was saying that they're using their ambassadors and at times and locations that are beneficial to the work that or events that are going downtown. So I would welcome us having a very robust conversation about it. But even if it is for $25,000, $30,000, or $50,000, there are additional demands on the downtown beyond the ambassadors that we'd like to probably bring to council at the same time before we would before council would give direction for us to find additional funding. We are. The pressures on the downtown MSD and the pressures on the city's budget are real, and $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 now can be significant.
If I may respond, so this is sort of answering that and a little bit to Mayor Pro Tem Jensen's comment earlier. When we very initially presented this program back in 2022, it was in fact modeled off of a program from Raleigh, downtown Raleigh. Cold Spring remains members of the North Carolina Downtown Development Association, which is partner organizations like ours across the state. And so all of these major metro areas in Fayetteville have the same program. And the initial sort of best practice for a program such as this is to have anywhere from 3 to 5 part-time ambassadors and at least 1, if not 2, full-time supervisors. And so as this began as sort of a pilot program, this is where the funding sources sort of landed. We have the one full-time and we have the one part-time. It has always been the goal of Cool Spring to expand that program. The conversation shifted to include having a downtown dedicated officer as sort of a complement to that work. And so I understand what excuse me, Dr. Hewitt is saying about that need and the MSD and the burdens on those dollars as well. If there is a conversation to be had where perhaps that burden is taken off of those vacancies in the police department and having that dedicated officer, and some of those funds can be redirected to add to the ambassador program, then I think in some ways, and I'm sure that's very much a broad strokes, conversation about it, but I think that would address some of the needs that we have in the downtown without putting that undue burden on the full city budget. I am more than happy to take that up and continue to have those discussions in the future if you would like to do so.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Councilmember Benavente.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll start with City Manager, and it may allow for President Bennett to speak on this. Item number 6.04, Special Event Security at Festival Park. Is there an opportunity for Ms. Bennett to be a part of that discussion at all?
I am already a part of that discussion and so on that committee.
I'll wait in that case. Mr. Mayor, I don't have any other questions necessarily. I guess I just have discussion once the motion gets made.
All right, thank you. And you had a question?
I was just going to ask if we could transfer.
Well, as it relates to the 100,000, and Mr. Hughes, you remember when the council said, got the agreement or consensus to add the additional dollars for it. I think that was staff's recommendation to put it in PD or to do it that way. I know we talked about these other communities and other cities having these ambassadors who were not necessarily officers, but, kind of welcoming but also comforting. Like Mayor Pro Tem said about Atlanta, you see those folks in these cities with the word ambassador on the shirt. And, a police officer's, and I'm just spitballing here. Let's say it's hourly salary. If you broke it down, it's $30, and you're using it in overtime. That's time and a half. So you're not going to get a lot of bang for the 100,000. So when the recommendation came to put it in PD, I guess we needed to probably think about whether there was the manpower available to do it and how much bang you would get versus having it through a dedicated person that was not paid at time and a half, because overtime is going to burn it faster than regular compensation. So that could be something that we need to look at, because I think the objective is to get the need met. I got emails. I don't know if I shared that with you, Council. I mean, I know you do as the district representative of incidents after incidents about people who just don't have a pleasant experience behind feeling insecure, and other things happening, and that I think was our goal and intent behind the appropriation. So I would like to revisit that. If PD doesn't have the manpower, if we're not getting as much of a stretch for it, then maybe separating it would be the option. But Mayor Pro Tem, you had that, and then I'll go to Councilmember Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So what I was going to ask is, if what I'm hearing from you is that we really haven't had a designated officer down there. Is that correct?
There was a brief period of time where we did about 3 months or so, but we've not had it for a significant period of time since then.
So on the other side of me, I'm hearing that we're down 54 police officers, which is amazing, and I think that is great, because we've gone from 120 to 54 being down, so that is a win. But I do think, and I think we could do it here to put on the agenda for our big meeting, is if we could take some of those funds. We don't need more. All we need to do is move it. Just move it over to the Cool Springs district, and you can get your ambassador. I will tell you, when I go to Atlanta and you see ambassadors walking all over the place, you have that feeling of being safe and having fun and coming back more than you would seeing police officers all over the place.
Yeah.
But we are missing a lot of times that people are going down there and people are coming up to your car and knocking on your door and wanting money. So whoever Councilmember Davis, I know you're going to do the motion, but I hope that you would put that in there. And if you don't, I will bring it back.
Yeah, well, I think that, well,
I think that was-
fortunately, the council gives the directive.
Well, fortunately, as the mayor said, the council does, and I appreciate that and happy to have the guidance from council on that. I would welcome an opportunity for us to have a meeting. I would welcome us having an opportunity to have a meeting around
Sure,
that. I'd welcome an opportunity to have a meeting around that with the council where we can talk about those options. Some of the issues that have come up, I think it is in companion both ambassadors or docents, which is the wrong word for that, as well as having a law enforcement presence. Some of the challenges that Ashanti and Ms. Bennett and I have talked about, and the ones that the mayor and I have talked about, and some other council members, are some of the mental health challenges of people that we see in the downtown. The lack of having a public restroom in the downtown, as well as having a dedicated, almost at least a 12-hour shift for someone who can make emergency cleanups and things like that. There are a variety of issues that go beyond just the ambassador program that if we want to have a conversation, I know Ms. Bennett and city staff and the police department, Parks and Recreation, beautification, all of those, we're ready to have that as well. So I would ask that if you are interested in that allow us also to have a more expansive conversation that may include that and other things as well.
So, Mr. Mayor, I guess a motion is going to be made, if they could be separate, because I have discussion on two separate things. Number one, the report, and then number two, if indeed we're going to make an effort to defund the police in this matter by moving police budget money away from the police department, I would love to hear from the chief of police about his thoughts on what he was doing with that $100,000 before we do it. Y'all can shake your head all you want, but that's what you're literally doing.
There's no y'all because there's no motion.
Well, that's why I asked.
All
At the
right.
appropriate time, I'm waiting for the motions to be made.
All right, so.
No pressure, Councilman.
Yeah.
Before he makes his motion, I'm not going to put you under that.
Can we just have the police chief come up now and talk about it?
No, it's good. It's good. We can
What?
we can do the motion and he can bring it back. And if we're
Alrighty.
going to make this a political thing, we're just going to
Yeah,
It's
let
not
it
a
go.
political thing. It's what y'all are doing.
Well, let me bring it back full circle, council. One is we've got to get Ms. Bennett out of the middle of this crossfire. Okay, so let's accept her report and let her step back. Two is if you're amenable in your motion to ask them to bring back a security plan to cover the objectives that they heard today and possible funding options. Okay, because we don't know what the impacts will be from shifting something. And we don't know, one of the questions I have is, as the $100,000 was given addition to the police budget, was it set aside for specifically what we asked about? So there are a lot of questions that I don't think we can get to today. So if you make the motion to bring it back,
With all
with
due
that,
respect, I'm going to make the motion just to accept the report.
there you go.
Yes,
All right, and then we can.
Thank you.
All right, so there's a motion by Councilmember Davis to accept the report, and a second by Councilmember Hare. Discussion.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember
Thank you, Mr.
Benavente.
Mayor. I remember the discussions around President Bennett's request to have two full-time people and a part-time person. And my recollection is that we were more concerned with about having some kind of police presence and the parking deck covered at all times. And we refused to give what I'm so excited to hear now is a lot of excitement around this concept of alternatives to simply policing. So I'm excited to hear that we're considering giving her exactly what she's asking for because it works. And in fact, as y'all are starting to realize, it's less expensive than going straight to law enforcement. When we talk about the cost to the taxpayers, the cost of trying to incarcerate someone who's already homeless, incarcerate someone who's already struggling with mental health, is 10 times more expensive than just working with them with all these alternative ways of talking to them. So I think that I'm just excited to hear the direction that we're going. But City Manager Hewitt, you really brought up a really concerning point about this municipal service district and how we're already seemingly belly up on the costs and the services that we want to provide. But my understanding is that, Mayor Colvin, you're asking for a way for people to be able to get out of that municipal service district so we have even less money. And so when I think about some of the other things, sir, I'm sorry, it's my time to speak. I'm sorry, let me mute you real quick. And just to let you know that that is something that I really do feel like we need to include in any future discussions, is that MSD is already belly up, and there is an effort now to shrink it even further by allowing folks to leave it. So if that's going to be the case and we keep asking for more and more services, we're doing the opposite of what we're sort of saying one thing, do more, create more services, spend more money, but at the same token we're saying, and also generate less revenue and figure it out. We tell a lot of people in other parts of the city, not downtown, that if you want 24/7 security presence, you got to hire private security. We tell people that all the time. Why is it that downtown folks are saying that, no, we expect now the city to provide us 24/7 security? That's fine if we're willing to do that, but we've got to potentially ask them to pay their part. We have to keep the municipal service district moving, funded. But Mr. Manager, I really feel like you've got to stay strong on that front and not let us just sort of sway with whatever, people who are donating to us are telling us what to do.
Yeah, well, thank God for elections, right? All right, so two things. One, we'll stay focused here. I don't think there was ever been a situation where you can't do both and, okay? We didn't know in September 24, when this was happening, that a dedicated police officer, you said 3 months ago, a dedicated staff person who was down there is no longer there?
For about 3 months,
For
not
about
3
3
months
months.
ago. I've not personally, and no one in our staff has seen one for this calendar year.
So I think any downtown needs to have some police presence, but it doesn't mean that, like other cities, you can't have an ambassador as well as that. So there's an ability to do both and, not one and or. But the motion is on the floor as you spoke. It's already been seconded. We've had discussion. Council, look to you before you vote on that. All right, Councilmember Banks McLaughlin. Councilmember Banks McLaughlin?
Green.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Green.
Yes, ma'am, we got you. All right, motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Bennett.
Thank you all.
All right, 6.03. He's got the consensus for next work session. You don't know what to think of that.
Good afternoon, Council. It is my pleasure this afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and Council, to introduce Jackie Abbott, who's going to talk to you about the substantial amendments that she's led over the last 60 days. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to have been hired as the newest manager at ECD for community relations. And so I'd like to talk to you today about the substantial amendments to the 21-22 and 25-26 annual action plans. A substantial amendment is a formal change to a HUD-approved annual action plan that is significant enough to require public notice, citizen participation, and council approval. They're needed in this case due to shifting funds between activities, adding a new activity, and accepting newly awarded funds from HUD. The 21-22 annual action plan was adopted by council in May of 21 with a home ARP allocation of $3.3 million. The 25-26 was just adopted by this council in April 28. $460,000 was allocated to CDBG neighborhood resources. No CDBG affordable housing activity was created at the time of adoption. That's because the majority of our affordable housing activity is done through home funds. Regarding 21-22, we received a revised award notice in April of this year that instructed us to amend our annual action plan in order to accept an additional allocation of $5,000. We did run a public notice and comment period September 4th through October 5th of this year, and we received no comments. Our new revised award would be $3.4 million. Yes, sir. For this year, the 25-26 annual action plan, we found program income when we reconciled previous funding cycles. This $280,000 is shifted between activities, and we're also adding a new activity. It had the same public comment period, and we received no comments. Neighborhood resources will be going from $460,000 to $640,000, and we will be creating an affordable housing CDBG activity with a budget of $100,000. And that was short and sweet for you today. That's all I have, but I am available for questions.
Thank you. Councilman Hondros has a question.
Mr. Mayor, I move to receive the presentation of the substantial amendments in the Housing and Urban Development 2021-2022 Action Plan
All right.
and the 2025-2026 Action Plan.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All right, it's a motion by Councilman Hondros, second by Councilman Benavente. Discussion. All right, Council, I'll look to you for your votes on that. Councilmember Banks McLaughlin. Councilmember Banks McLaughlin?
Green.
Okay.
Green.
All right, who we miss? Okay. All right, motion carries. All right, moving to 6.04. Is that Ms. Bennett again? Oh, no. Brooke.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Brooke Redding, City Manager's Office, and I'm here to present to you the Festival Park security adjustments we've made. Let me find the right presentation. All right, there we go. So like I said, Brooke Redding from the City Manager's Office, and today we're going to talk about the Festival Park security and changes we made over the past about 4 months. So the purpose of today's presentation is to provide a clear update on the protocol and explain how it works and walk Council through its implementation that we've been doing since July. So a little bit of background. In May 2025, Council directed staff to strengthen Festival Park security, including a mask and bag policy, along with 7 or 8 other directives. Parks and Rec implemented a pilot protocol with enhanced security at the 4th of July celebration that provided 2 gated access points at the Festival Park itself and increased security both on the police side and event staff side. An administrative report was provided to City Council on September 8th, regular meeting, and Council requests to discuss that today. And at the latest event, the International Folk Festival, Parks and Rec implemented an expanded pilot protocol to increase security overall using the park and promenade. So what we built. So we spent in a small consortia of city staff, which included the police department, Parks and Recreation, some of our external event organizers like the Cool Springs Downtown District and other members. We created a 4-tiered security matrix. We had also created some venue overlays, which included the park only and the park and the promenade. We established a unified command structure with the police department, fire, EMS, event security, and city staff. And we standardized a mask and bag policy, so the signage and the things that you see when you approach those events now. A quick discussion on those 4 tiers. So on the slide that you have here, the so what is on Tier 1, which is the predominance of the events that are held in Festival Park annually fall into the Tier 1 and Tier 2 range. Those are respectively up to 1,000 for Tier 1 and then 1,000 to 2,000 attendees during Tier 2. They both consist of controlled and optional controlled access, wands, light bag checks, with additional options to close Ray Avenue depending on the event. Your higher tiers, which would be the city-sponsored events that happen annually, the 5, and the additional Dogwood Fall event, which is partnered this year, fall in these ranges. And that includes large concerts, festivals with alcohol sales, ranging in different times of day, Gated access with 3 to 4 magnetometers at each gate, bag checks mandatory, a full perimeter control, and Ray Avenue closure, just due to the size and disposition of these events. So giving the police department the buffer zone they need to be able to adequately secure the environment. So how it works in practice, for our event organizers that are applying to the special event process, there really is not a change on the front side. It's the same process they've been following. We apply that security matrix as staff to determine the required tier, so the size, how many people are going to attend, what part of the park they plan to use, the daytime, what time of day they're going to do it, and what activities are happening. That attendance is validated internally against past data and comparable events. And then after the event, we conduct after-action reviews, where we hold event security, police department, city staff, and other components in the organizations to talk about what went well and what we need to improve. This process, again, lines up with our current applications system, but it adds a consistent method for assigning security requirements. So we did have a lot of stakeholder input. We met with Ashanti's organization, Cool Springs. We met with Dogwood Festival with Kaylin and her team, as well as Mr. Pinson at the Arts Council. We have coordinated with them. Brian Christopher from Parks and Rec and his team have coordinated closely with those event organizers to get some feedback. We went over kind of the development of the protocol, got feedback, and here's some of the concerns we heard. So there was an issue or a lot of concern about us maybe pricing out smaller events by increasing too much security. The perimeter fencing appearance, so some of the perimeter fencing that's down there and the appearance of it that's in that floodway. Open carry enforcement consistency and equity across different event types. So to address that, that's where we established that tiered event. We're working with the Parks and Rec to address some of the other appearance pieces. And we have made a very clear application process, or very clear to the matrix. So if you're below that 2,000 mark, which again is about 80% of our events annually, they're going to fall into that traditional security outfit. So it won't be what you have seen at the past major events. So talk on our budget context. Again, most of our annual events fall between tiers 1 and 2, and those costs and impacts will be nominal compared to the larger events. So the security cost scale with tier and duration. So as you get into that tier 4, you get a multitude more of event staff security that are non-uniform, not police officers, but they are there for security to do passive bag checks, observations, and then work with the police department. You have more police officers on site, and you have a command structure in those higher tiers. So as you see, 32 personnel for a tier 4 event. That's 17 event staff, 12 officers, 2 sergeants, and a captain. There's magnetometers, bag checks, and a command post established. So in FY26, we anticipate this cost ranging around $90,000, different from last year, as more security, more personnel creates a larger cost. And that will be for our city-sponsored and for the one event that we traditionally didn't do that with, which is the Dogwood Fall Festival. We have partnered with them to cover the difference in those costs. For FY27 and beyond, only city-sponsored events will be funded, and we anticipate that being around $60,000 reoccurring to go into the budget with Parks and Rec. So the outcome of this, and really the intent based off of Council's direction back in May, was to have a consistent, professional, and safe security posture that gives the public confidence while still being fair to the organizers. So we have now more safer and more predictable events. We are actively evolving that standard and applying it across organizers. We have improved coordination across the police department, event security staff, EMS, and city staff. It's something that is unique and has not traditionally been that way. So getting the police department to have that clear fidelity across event staff, city staff, and the organizer themselves kind of flattens communications. Transparent, equitable application of the security posture, so large events get more security, smaller events don't get overburdened with it, and a flexibility for us to adapt as we continue to evolve this policy. Kind of leaning into our next steps, we're looking for council to give any feedback. We will refine ourselves as we did an after-action review from the International Folk Festival 2 weeks ago. We actually have some small changes we need to make on the interior portion of security, but we'll implement those going into the next major event. And we're looking from council to allow us to continue implementing the protocol in FY26 events, monitor and refine through our AAR system, and we will program reoccurring budget support for the FY20 city-sponsored events. Pending your questions.
All right, yes, sir, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I have a question. I know when we talked about this, we had a clear bag policy that passed. I'm not seeing any of that in here. We also had that about the mask and the backpacks. And the only thing that I'm seeing here is bag checks. So council voted to do clear bag policy, and have we just taken that out?
No, Mayor Pro Tem. We have actually, we are doing a phased implementation process. So to go directly to it and change the behavior of tens of thousands of individuals, we have gone systematically through the July event, the International Folk Festival event, the Dogwood upcoming, and the intent is that by New Year's, we have implemented it fully.
So I guess my question is, this started in May. Fayetteville State, for their homecoming, is now doing clear bag policy. The Crown Coliseum has done it for years. If your bag isn't half the size of this paper, you're not getting in. Cumberland County Schools is doing it. So I just don't understand why we need to wait on that when it's being done everywhere around us. It's not anything new. And I do know that we did have something down. It might have been Juneteenth. Didn't we have the clear bag policy going on there?
No, we had implemented in the July 4th event the beginning of that policy, but to change that behavior in that short amount of time we implemented.
The behavior is already there, and I think what I'm concerned about is we discussed this in May, we're here in October, and we're slowly implementing it, and I just don't understand why it takes 6 months to get a clear bag when everybody else is doing it. So, and I saw nothing with the mask or the backpacks. Was that not in our motion, Mr. Mayor?
It was specifically. So, Mr. Manager, that's probably more of a you question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. One of the things that we have implemented and took some time was the magnetometers. I know there had been discussion about that, but that was not in council's motion. And so that was not part of the motion, the magnetometers, was it?
The clear bag.
The magnetometers was not when we went back and we looked at. We are putting it in because we ended up with a situation where we were very concerned that because there was discussion, but as it relates to the clear bags, hearing council now clearly, we thought that we were making great progress in implementing council's intent and running the events, but the clear bags are something that, based upon clearly we missed the mark. If that was the absolute desire right away, we will go back and we can implement that. We can start with, I guess the next one is the Dogwood Fall Festival, and we can make that very clear with advertising. As it relates to the mask, I think that there was, and I hate that city attorney's not here or police, it is already, I think, already law. And we can definitely communicate that as well and all of our outward-facing things as well. But again, apologies. We were, in all things, trying to take a reasoned and phased approach, but clearly we missed the bag on the bag. And we will be happy to adjust that immediately.
All right. Councilman Benavente, Thompson, and then Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Redding, I want to understand the pros and the cons here, because I can imagine we don't want to turn away folks who are used to coming to our events and, giving a negative impression without an opportunity for them to address. The phased approach, I think, is protecting us from certain things. Could you maybe speak to whether that's one of them, or if there's some other concerns that we were trying to maybe mitigate as best we could?
Yes, sir. So in the July event, we have established signs. We have written it out internal to, how do we get the tens of thousands of people to shift. And at 4th of July, they showed up with ready to get into the event, and we were lenient to let individuals get their bag inspected and carry it in. At the International Folk Festival, again, we advertised on the front side heavily. We've coordinated with Marcom, who has some clear bags on hand in hopes that we can start to hand those out. I know that at the upcoming event, Kaylin herself has actually purchased from Cool Springs to hand out in the event as well. It's not that we haven't implemented that policy. It's more that we haven't strictly enforced it at the gate. So we're allowing individuals to come and get an inspection done. We're allowing them to then enter the park after they've been inspected with the intent that by the end of this year that policy was fully enabled. This is a change of direction, and we will effectively make it for the Dogwood Fall Festival in the short coming weeks, and it will be fine. But we'll make sure that we have a heavy emphasis to clearly articulate and advertise coming into that event.
Well, that'd be great. I'd also ask if you could track, too, because I've seen plenty of folks say they're never coming back to a Woodpeckers game because they didn't know that they couldn't have a bag that didn't fit inside that little wooden sort of piece there. People are frustrated. They're throwing their purses away because they don't want to go back to their car. I mean, to me, that there's some logic behind phasing these things in so that people can learn. So as you guys are doing this, please track as well some of those things that you were hoping to avoid and whether or not they're now going to happen because we're just going to ham-fist it through. The other question I had was, you used the term nominal as it related to the majority of folks in y'all's estimation only needing Tier 1 and Tier 2 levels of security. What dollar range is nominal?
So without a specific dollar for each event as its variations, we don't anticipate a cost being greater than 20 or 30% from the original cost of it. Only in the sense of the police department array and the event support staff or the event security staff at those tiers 1 and 2 is only an increase of 1 or 2 maybe individuals. It's not 10 or 20. That's the difference.
Mr. Manager, is this a time where I can ask President Bennett to kind of give her perspective on that? Or should I wait until we're done asking Mr. Redding a bunch of questions?
Yeah, we've got other questions, council members, so I'll come back
Thank
to
you, sir.
Let me make sure we get Mr. Redding.
Yes, sir.
Straighten out. Councilmember Herron and Thompson.
My question's been
Councilman Thompson, I saw your light was on.
Okay. Just trying to make sure my mic is off when other people is talking. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me just clarify. I am a sports fanatic. I go to football, baseball, basketball, hockey games, not just in North Carolina, but across the United States. And I don't know of one event that you can go to without having a clear bag. Not one. Let me just make that clear. But my question is about the tier schedule that you have. You said most of our events are less than 2,000 people. And you mentioned that we might price out smaller events. Clarify for me.
So if we were to have a security posture that was universal for any size of event at the scale that we have in the Tier 4, it would make it unfair for individuals to be able to adequately pay for the permitting process and enter that event. When you have on the Tier 4 and you have the array that we've talked about, we are averaging into the thousands of dollars an hour.
I got it. Thank you, sir.
All right. So Mr. Redding, first of all, I appreciate it, and I know you're a very thorough, analytical guy, so I appreciate that. I brought this as part of our special meeting, council, to secure Festival Park. So the things that we were talking about, as I recall, were the fencing around the front, where there were gaps in fences, to make sure that you could have it where people came to a controlled entrance, and the bags. Whether or not the metal detectors were part of that conversation, I'm not really addressing that. This is very thorough when the outcome that we were looking for is a more secured space consistently. So regardless of the event, I know there are different things you have to do, but if the gates are secured, if you can only use 1 or 2 entrances, and if you don't allow bags or masks in there, that was the intent of the council. This Tier 1, 2, 3, 4, I think, is very detailed, and then it gets into how much do you have for whatever event. I appreciate that, but Help me understand the four components that we were trying to obtain here.
So at the meeting, the direction and really the spirit and intent that we heard behind that motion was to make the event space more secure.
Yes.
When we dispatched and built a cohort of representatives from the departments, really looking at Festival Park objectively of how would we put the infrastructure in there, how would we make these events more secure in a space that is open. When Festival Park was established, it was never built with the intent of what we're trying to evolve it to. So the cohort established one, how do we need to create gated access? To enforce a bag and mask policy and inspections to enter a facility, you need to have gates and you need to have controlled access. Festival Park has 3 sides of fencing. Additionally, that park's property is in a floodway zone that prohibits us from establishing deeper infrastructure in that area. So if we were to just put a fence up and do what you see at Red Hat in Raleigh and put that 6-foot fence all the way around with screening, we would be towing the line and have to go through an extensive permitting process to get fencing in the waterway to allow us to adequately secure the park.
Hold right there. So are you saying that there is no fencing available that secures areas that are also in floodplains?
That's not what, I don't think that's true. I think there are fencing that can be done.
Okay, so have we explored those options and the costs related?
We have. And so in the interim, we established this protocol where we could create gated access using the Ray Avenue traffic circle, using the Ray Avenue exit off of Festival Park, creating that, adding additional security to look at the back sides where people could enter in or walk in, and then doing temporary fencing in places where there were some gaps. If you noticed at International Folk Festival, the promenade had a gate entrance there, and we had that big building in Festival Park. We used the natural terrain and the facilities to create that fencing in that space. But we had to establish that part first to be able to put inspections and the other components to make it more secure. Does that better answer your question?
Yes, sir. But you do have the cost estimate of the longer-term objective.
We have not gotten into the detailed costs yet as we paused that notion to get council's intent and get this policy in place. So we've had a lot of discussions over the past months about what that infrastructure would look like, and as it became more apparent that it's in the millions.
All right, last question I have. When can we expect, and this may be a manager question, for something to come back on the bag policy, since there was a little ambiguity about what the intent was to get the bags? Because people will comply with whatever they need to do to go to what they're going to. So I don't really buy into that you're trying to change behavior. I mean, it's an expectation. You say you can't do this, you know. When COVID came, it was mask required. You went and got your mask out the car, or you put it back up when it wasn't. So, I mean, people will comply, but when can council kind of bring this on home? Because this has been on since April.
Not April, but I think, again, I'd like to say apologies because we missed the mark. It was an understanding that when we did the first event that the clear bag policy was in effect, we'll have additional conversations about making sure that we are clear and consistent across the board about that. For 4th of July, we were, and the magnetometers that we employed there were designed to be able to handle everything from larger coolers, and there aren't any clear coolers, but in some of the bags that people have that they bring in their foldable chairs. And so always in any event where people are having to bring in more than chairs, blankets, other things like that, that's been one of the beauties of having the magnetometers, is that it gives you additional access for that. But clearly, we had started with the clear bags, and that was understood, and we migrated to try to, I guess, allow folks to, do a change of behavior, and that was clearly inconsistent with what the direction of council was. And so we'll fix that immediately. And unless there's some further action needed from council, we will make that very clear at the Dogwood Fall Festival. The other items, such as the fencing, Mr. Redding is correct. It is in a floodway, and we have in the past and have had recent conversations with our floodplain and stormwater folks and staff about what it means that when the area floods, that those fences don't collect debris, don't break away and create more of a flooding hazard or more of a concentrated effort. We've had that in years past. And the mayor is correct. We are opportunities to do that differently, and we're looking at that. I've been waiting on a contract from a subsidiary of OVG to actually help us identify what we could do to make the park more secure, not only from a security standpoint, but also from a payment standpoint. So if you're going to move to have paid acts there, then currently, as Mr. Redding said, you have 3 access points. One, if you've been down for New Year's Eve, the back entrance behind the stage is secure. But again, a person can just jump over the railroad tracks if you really want to get in. We have a natural barrier there of a creek, a blue line creek or stream that has water in it almost all the time, and it has riprap or rocks on it as well. That creates somewhat of a barrier as well. But again, people can and possibly do cross that as well. And then along Ray Avenue, we have fencing that is designed. You can jump over it, but it is not scalable by most folks, including myself. And we do have a controlled access point there, and we have one at the bridge as well, where most of the folks are coming through. And so, except for the discussion at the end that we've had about the clear bag policy, I believe that staff has been fully compliant with the interest of council and actually exceeded it. And I'll provide you with the minutes as well for the magnetometers. And I think what Mr. Redding and the team were looking at was in a 4-tiered system, is to realize that events that may be like the Reading Rocks event, which hopefully we'll have again now that we have a literacy council that is forming, that it does not require magnetometers, does not require additional enhanced security, but it still provides an atmosphere for the park to be used. But for those larger events where alcohol might be involved, depending on the types of activities and times of day and night, we have an area that is very secure. What Mr. Redding didn't also put in, but I'll also share with the council now that we have an opportunity to do so, is that for all events that we have at Festival Park of any size, the police department and the fire department have separate safety plans before we had magnetometers, to also on different communication strategies to try to make sure that the parks are as safe as possible. But clearly, we heard the council about the clear bags. It was something that we had started, and I'm not sure if in our effort to try to be accommodating in some ways to the large number of people getting the word out about it, that we had taken a softer stance on the clear bags, but we hear you, and we and the event organizers will comply. So with that, Mayor, I'll be happy to give you all administrative memo after our Dogwood Festival, which is in 2 weeks, that will tell you how well the magnetometers worked, how well the clear bag policy worked, or other issues that may need adjustment.
All right, the signs for the no mask.
They've been at those events.
Okay.
They've been at the past 2 events. They'll be at every event going forward.
All right. Councilman Benavente, you had something? For Ms. Bennett? Ms. Bennett? Mr. Councilman Benavente.
Ms. Bennett, when you were part of these conversations leading up to the conversations that you had leading up to meeting with Brooke and this conversation, I'm assuming you met with maybe a handful, and correct me if I'm wrong, event planners, people who generally do things on very different levels and scales of attendance. Would that be true?
Yes.
Did in those conversations you all discuss any anxiety around the expectation of, you know, the cost of doing events downtown being impacted by this special event security changes that we're making?
So there was sort of the preliminary, the first question anybody asks is, what is this going to cost? And before having any of those conversations and not having a sense of what additional safety protocols are going to be put in place, that may in fact trickle down to the event organizer and not be covered by the city. It wasn't extraordinary at that time. In the conversations that we've had since then, as discussed here, it's been sort of a tiered, phased rollout. And so I'm not entirely certain that other organizers that are not myself, Dogwood, and the Arts Council are fully aware of these changes that are happening. I can anticipate that there may be some concern with that coming back to it once it is fully announced. At this point, we've only had those sort of city-sponsored events since we've had this discussion. And Mayor Pro Tem Jensen left, but Juneteenth was in fact the next event after that. However, we already had a clear bag policy that we enacted for that event, so it did not affect us at that time.
Can you make sure that you're keeping tabs on that? Because I know that we weren't exactly specific on what nominal meant, but I think what's nominal to maybe one group is actually very significant to another. And if it's the difference between somebody doing an awesome, interesting event for the first time, and then us just completely missing out on that potential because, we got very excited to do these sort of, this political stunt with these things. I don't want it to have a negative impact on events that traditionally don't have any issues, have never. And this might end up being a Brooke question if you don't have the answer to it. I think it said based on your previous attendance, but what if you've never had anything before? Does that automatically put you in tier one? Is that even a lot? Maybe there a category where this doesn't, comport to you at all if, you're just trying something. Can you just make sure that you're, I guess, having those conversations? And this is and I guess you said this already, you prefer the tier system. It makes sense. Is that true or not true? Or maybe
I did not say that I preferred the tier system.
Tell me your thoughts on the tier system.
I understand the approach to it. I understand that needing to sort of codify something and make it methodical and fair across the board. Cool Spring is in an interesting position because the events that we do for the city are in fact city sponsored. And so for us, it becomes more of an advocacy issue for events that we know are not in fact city sponsored and would be entirely responsible for any additional costs. We do partner with smaller organizations as their fiscal agent in order to do some of these things. And there are other resources that we share with some of these small first-time event organizers to be able to do their event in the beginning, even as far as the level of getting into Festival Park to begin with. We try to partner with the Arts Council and their particular grant program that helps specifically for the rental of the park. And so whenever we are talking to someone that is new, has a sort of preliminary budget that may or may not entail all of these things, we're always trying to make sure that they get the resources they need to be able to afford it. I am taking I would say my opinion on it is measured at this point because we've not had an opportunity to see it roll out with events that don't already get those resources. And I just will be curious in a year's season worth of programming how that does in fact affect folks. And so I will absolutely be in touch with some of those other organizers just to get their feedback, because that is part of the role of Cool Spring, is to make sure that we are advocating for our event organizers as well. And I'm just going to take this particular moment, since I do have the microphone and your attention. In addition to some of those other security measures that were added to the park, I do think I would be remiss if I didn't bring up to the council that one of the other measures that you need, along with the gating and we'll always trip over that word, the magnetometers, is there was a question, and that came up from both myself and from Kaylin with the Dogwood, is for lighting in the park. I think that you can't talk about security. We have that issue on our downtown streets right now with about 30 light poles that don't have lights. And so when you don't have lights and it's dark, people also don't feel safe. So as we continue those conversations, and I know that more of those are happening, I am taking, again, that measured approach and looking at what that full security package actually looks like, because in many of the ways we've had the discussion about sort of my previous ambassadors versus police officers, I think maybe you don't necessarily need all the fancy equipment if it's just bright. And people feel safe, there may be a way to balance some of that out. So if it comes to a point where we feel that it's tipping where organizers are not able to afford to do those things, then those alternatives of increasing lighting and spreading it out throughout the perimeter of the park may be something that we can address moving forward. That is a cost-saving measure for the city.
Right, and I guess I'll just close and let you go by just reiterating, my biggest concern is for folks. I mean, if the city of Fayetteville said, we're going to implement all these TSA-level demands to get into Festival Park, but we're paying for it, then my concerns are mitigated. But, when we're talking about folks who are trying to do cool things in Fayetteville and, incidences that, brought these security things into place that, number one, didn't happen in Festival Park. And we're suddenly, creating all these requirements of Brown Festival Park. I think we have to, as a city council, for being responsible, fiscally responsible, we're weighing, are we going to kill someone's event because it's the first time they're going to be coming out, and then as soon as they get there, they're not aware of certain policies, and they say, well, then I'm turning around, I'm never coming back. If we're not tracking that, then we're not being responsible, because if our interest is only in being able to proclaim that we did a bag policy and did a mask policy, and we don't care that 10 different events were unsuccessful because of it, then we are not considering all of the factors here. And like you just saw, we're willing to intimidate staff and make them feel like they can't do what they think is best. So you have to be able to step up, I think, and let us know what the problems are without necessarily fear of reprisal.
I will say that I do think that everyone that has participated in these calls comes with, I would like to believe, and I'm just that person that would like to believe, better angels and best interests at heart for the community. I do hope that as we continue the conversation, though, you asked a question earlier, if it is a brand new person, are they automatically tier 1? I don't personally feel that I have an answer to that question. I do know that, and I don't want to speak from her, and I hope if you have additional questions, you can reach out to Kaylin Suarez, the executive director of Dogwood, but I do know that these security measures did add an additional burden to her upcoming fall festival in 2 weeks, and that is part of the reason why it has been sort of grandfathered into this rollout phase, and that the city will be picking up some of that tab for this year for her. But we have those conversations constantly about the evolving nature of our events and how we respond to not just in security measures, but just what people want to experience when they come to one of these events. And so as organizers, we are constantly talking with each other, constantly sharing best practices. I very much appreciate Dr. Hewitt and the staff that worked on this, bringing us in at the top of these discussions rather than at the end to get our input. But I do hope that those conversations continue.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Redding. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Ms. Bennett. All right, Council, moving to 6.05, and Council, I will, I think there were adjustments to it. You want to receive it?
Mr. Manager, I'll move that we at least move for some of the conversation to be incorporated into another version of this report.
So, Mr. Hewitt, what was your timeline or your approach to capturing Council's interest?
Council expressed the only thing I think that was missing, as we've said, is the clear back at 100% enforcement. We will make sure that occurs at the Dogwood Fall Festival, and we will come back and give you an administrative report. And at the conclusion of that will capture the elements that Brooke talked about. And the only thing that he said that was inconsistent so far is that I think we missed the mark on the clear back. And its full implementation, and with the Dogwood Festival being Fall Festival in 2 weeks or so, we'll give you a report to tell you how all of that went, and as well as our full implementation of the bag policy.
And does that, what you just said, does that include, Mr. Redding, some sort of feedback too about, the sort of going past what your phased implementation was, going straight to an immediate implementation? I mean, you went with the phase for a reason. If some of those issues present themselves by going into it immediately, can you make sure that you're making us aware of what those were?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Reddick. Thank you, Mr. Hewitt. All right, Council, moving to 6.05. Before I do that, can I get a motion to be excused, or it can be counted as an affirmative for the calendar event? I need to leave.
I move to excuse Mayor Colvin.
All right, so multiple motions and seconds. So I don't remember who was first, but Councilmember Benavente, seconded by Thompson, I think. All right, discussion on the motion. Council, I'll look to you before you vote. All right, thank you.
Green.
Oh, sorry, Councilmember Banks will go.
All right. Let's move to 6.05. Discussion of proposed 2026 city council meeting dates calendar.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Hello, sir. All of the dates and meeting times for the second and fourth Monday of the month for regular meetings beginning at 6:30 and dinner meetings at 5:30, as well as work sessions beginning at 2 have remained the same. One thing that I would like to bring your attention to, however, is our strategic planning retreat that we have currently scheduled and templated for January 20th and 21st. And then, different from prior years, is that the NLC congressional meeting will not take place at the same time as a council meeting, and so you won't have a council meeting on that Thursday this time. It will be on the same dates as it should be. And if everyone is in agreement, or if anyone has any questions, we would request consensus to put this on to the regular meeting for the 13th and approval.
Mayor Pro Tem Jensen, I move that we add this to the next regular meeting for approval.
Can I get a second? All right, discussion?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
The policy committee, I thought there was some discussion in reference to, not yet? Okay, well, no discussion, thank you.
Who made the cool little circle move like that in the PowerPoint? That was pretty cool. I just want to make mention of that.
All right, I'll call for the vote.
Green.
That is unanimous with those present. All right, let's move on to 6.06, report from Homeless and Mental Health Committee.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Kelly Strickland, Assistant City Manager here, with a report, assisting Councilmember McNair with a report from the Homelessness and Mental Health Committee. So the Homelessness and Mental Health Committee met on September 4th, 2025. And during that meeting, committee members received 3 presentations. One from Redeploying American Veterans, a nonprofit organization whose goal is to end veteran homelessness by proposing a tiny home community for veterans that would include support services. The next presentation they received was an update on the Day Resource Center's operations that was provided by Mr. Carlos Sanchez, who is the director of the Day Resource Center. And then the last presentation that they received was a homelessness overview provided by Ms. Debbie Brown of the Fayetteville Cumberland Continuum of Care. Councilmember McNair, is there any additional information that you would like to provide? I'm happy to elaborate on any of those, but
no, not right now. We just seeking consensus to bring this before council.
I have a question at the appropriate time.
So during the committee meeting, 2 of those presentations were motioned and approved by the committee members to be brought forward for receipt by the full council. So that's what's before you all today, is the committee's request to have the presentation by Redeploying American Veterans and the Continuum of Care come before the full council at a future work session.
Okay,
Is that
I
right,
have
ma'am?
2. Is that correct, Councilmember?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so I have questions from Councilmember Hare and then Benavente.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And though I'm somewhat familiar with the redeploying of the American veterans, the RAV, how was that report accepted that was given by Mr. Plater?
You said by the committee? From the committee? Oh, yeah, they both, myself, Councilmember Davis, and Councilwoman Banks McLaughlin, they agreed to bring the presentation before council. Actually get consensus to have them to bring the presentation so that you guys can hear the full presentation.
Did you all like it?
Yes,
Their
I
presentation?
did.
Yeah.
We all agreed to bring it before you.
Okay, so if we give the consensus today that they will be bringing it before us, right?
Yes.
Because I want to hear about the RAV.
Okay. I mean, I think that's the only way that we can come to a conclusion of whether this is a good fit for our city.
Yeah, I'd like to hear it. I've been talking to him.
Councilmember
Mayor Pro Tem.
Benavente?
Other than the veterans tiny home presentation, and it sounded like a separate request is being made to also have the continuum of care, Ms. Debbie Brown, do a completely separate presentation as well. What would that be on?
Yes, sir. Ms. Brown's, and if
It's
you would
a
like to
pit
speak to
count
that.
of our homeless population. She did do she presented before our committee on, what date was that? September the 4th. She gave a complete presentation on the count. Also, she was asked to bring her presentation before City Council as well.
So it's just with the presentation she did for y'all, you don't want her to do it again just in front of everybody.
Yes. Because, just in case you have questions for her because of her her numbers, and I think that's important that the full council understand and know what's really going on with our homeless population.
I know at the time when I was chairing that committee, she was asking for assistance from the city and the county with help paying for a executive director. Is that something she's still asking about?
She did not mention that, Councilmember Benavente, at all. She only focused on the pit count and her progress that she's making at this point in time.
And when the folks at the Dave Resource Center presented to y'all, was that just what they ended up presenting at that work session? Didn't they come to a work session as well for full city council already?
Mr. Baker shaking his head yes. And I was not at the September 4th Homelessness and Mental Health Committee meeting, so I apologize. I can't speak if that was the same information that was presented to the full council during their quarterly update. They do come to council as part of their contract with the city, being our operating partner of the Day Resource Center. That contract includes a quarterly presentation to council to update you all on what they've been doing at the Day Resource Center.
So they presented to the committee, and then they probably came and just did the same presentation to us?
Mm-hmm.
I apologize. I was out at the
Oh, no, so.
Sorry.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking.
So I guess if that's the case, and I'm not saying that they necessarily have to re-present that to us if the committee doesn't think that's necessary, would you say there was like one big takeaway from that presentation to y'all that we should be made aware of?
I think it would be beneficial to the public's hearing to know exactly what it is that the Day Resource Center is doing at this present time, and giving an update to the public is very, very vital, because we have a lot of questions about what it is we are doing concerning our unhoused populations and our mental health individuals, and I do believe that will bring clarity to those individuals that are curious right now.
I agree.
Okay, so that would be a third presentation that we'll ask for, is that what we're saying?
I believe that they're scheduled to come because we just finished a quarter, September 30th. So they'll be coming as part of their regular report out to you guys anyway, probably November, if not November, December. Okay, thank you. So yes, that would be an additional presentation, but it will be on your work session.
So no
anyway.
need to take action necessarily?
No, sir.
Do we know what the pit count was offhand? Just curious.
According to the minutes, it was 383, which is up 3 from 2024.
No other questions? Thank you, ma'am.
All right, Councilmember Hondros.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I move that we receive the report and have a consensus for the presentations from RAV and continuum of care.
Second.
All right, any discussion? I do have a question. Assistant City Manager Strickland, that 383, is that for the county, the region, or the city?
It is a countywide number. And it's important to state, Ms. Brown did say repeatedly that that is a preliminary number, even though the count was done the end of January. It has not, or at the time of her presentation in September, had not been certified by HUD.
Okay, so I just want the audience that's listening to, it's not just the city, it's the county all around us and the 7 cities surrounding us.
It is, yes.
Okay.
It encompasses more than just the city limits.
Okay, thank you.
And
So,
I don't know if I put it in my motion. I meant to say in December work session.
We don't have a December work session, sir. That's the information.
January work session.
We're gonna bring it back.
all right, we ready to vote? Call for the vote. Thanks, Councilmember Banks McLaughlin?
Green.
All right, that is unanimous. But, all right.
Good luck, everybody. Good luck, brother. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck.